Epic Games had their Unreal Fest 2024 in Seattle, where they showcased a bunch of new features in Unreal Engine 5.5, and one in particular could massively reduce the impact of hardware real-time ray tracing performance on GPUs, while achieving better lighting and shadow results, and on a much larger scale than what we've seen before in games. Called MegaLights, this new global illumination, or GI, could be the death of ray tracing hardware as we know it, and usher in a new generation of high-end graphics that's available to all, even you console fans out there. If real-time ray tracing performance stops being Nvidia's carrot stick for those who love bleeding-edge graphics, could AMD step in with more affordable GPUs and give gamers uncompromised next-gen visuals at console prices? Halo is moving to UE5, and that could be the catalyst for other developers to follow suit. I don't know about you, but I dream of a world where Bethesda finally abandons their janky engine. And we'll also take a look at the future of AI-generated graphics in games for some truly hyper-realistic visuals. Our sponsor, URCDkeys.com, is having a back-to-school super sale, so if you need a Windows or Office OEM key, you should check them out now. What is an OEM key? If you buy a Windows 11 directly from Microsoft, you'll pay $139 currently, or more depending on your region, and that's for a home edition key. But if you buy an OEM key from URCDkeys.com, you'll only have to pay $21.80 when you use my coupon code C25. And that's for a Windows 11 Pro key. These keys work globally, and you'll get them within minutes. You can pay with a credit card or PayPal. After purchasing, just go to your purchased orders page and copy the key, and then on your Windows 11 install, type in Activate and enter your key in the appropriate field and click Activate. Simple and quick. You can also get Office 2021 Professional Plus at less than half the price with my coupon code C25. Check the links in the video description for your cheap OEM keys today. Seemingly out of nowhere, Unreal showcased their impressive MegaLights technology running on a PS5 of all things. While there have been some limited demos of the tech available for a couple of months now, previously called stochastic lights and ray traced shadows on a per light basis, Unreal Engine 5.5 is now giving access to the new global illumination tech to all developers. This lighting technique works similarly to something I've covered in the past from Nvidia called RTX DI, and which at the time I said would be a main feature of the upcoming RTX 5000 series launch, and I still think it will. So instead of rendering each light source's direct light and ray traced shadows on a per light basis, MegaLights renders them in bulk in a single pass. Without getting too technical, it's a much more efficient way of doing real-time global illumination than what we've seen with Nvidia's current implementation, which other hardware vendors have struggled to catch up to in terms of performance, and which relies on brute force GPU parallelism to do all the ray tracing in a scene. This demo from Dylan Brown on YouTube is running on an AMD 7900 XTX GPU with 140 ray traced lights in a scene with 4 billion polygons. Note that it's captured at 4K but with 75% scaling and using hardware Lumen and TSR. TSR is just Unreal's version of DLSS or FSR, so it's a temporal based upscaler. So while this isn't fully native rendering, you can see the insane difference in performance of up to 8x, so 8 times faster than traditional ray-traced fixed function rendering, and the visuals here look stunning on a technical level. One of the main weaknesses of AMD's GPUs compared to their Nvidia counterparts has been real-time ray tracing performance, lagging behind significantly compared to what Nvidia's RTX line has been capable of achieving, although with Team Red closing the gap with each generation, both in performance and related features. With this Unreal Engine technology now available, however, on what is gradually becoming the most widely adopted game engine, and we'll talk about Halo in a second, and with the close partnership that AMD has had with Epic, it might be the case that Radeon GPUs could finally catch up to Nvidia in the ray tracing department, especially as you can bet global illumination will be one of the key marketing key points on both Radeon and RTX next-gen GPU launches, along with AI of course, with plenty of demos like this one showcasing the realistic MegaLights environments in upcoming titles. I know not all of you will agree, but personally I think a global move from developers to Unreal Engine would be a very positive thing for for the games industry, not only democratizing hardware in the sense that the engine can gradually make use of the entire available pool of GPUs in a much more optimized way, but also in the one aspect I think the industry is on the verge of collapsing, the financials. With Epic handling the technical side, that will free up resources in game studios to focus on making fun experiences, with the guarantee that they will look impressive and appealing from a technical point without having to hire an army of graphics developers. The unlikely but possible bankruptcy of Ubisoft, albeit for other reasons and I won't get political here, shows that budgets for games have become so inflated that a unification around Unreal Engine, while not without its dangers, could help move the industry forward in a more efficient and healthier way resource-wise. And if that happens from a hardware perspective, one of the key beneficiaries from this would be AMD, who have been working closely with the Unreal Engine team to optimize the engine for their GPUs and CPUs. On a side note, and this might or might not be relevant, it seems the Unreal team is keen on getting additional support for AMD's M GPU, so that's multiple GPUs running simultaneously, similar to the old SLI and Crossfire standards, at least judging by Unreal's job postings for their engine rendering developers as seen here. Could the Unreal Engine team have found a way to improve M GPU support for AMD GPUs without all the jankiness of Crossfire? Maybe M GPUs will make a comeback on the back of AI because of the VRAM requirements for doing inference. Who knows, but it's an interesting prospect and something to keep an eye on. Lighting and shadows, and textures of course, are far more important than geometry for selling a realistic image in a game, and one project that is following this philosophy is Industria 2. This is an upcoming narrative-based first-person shooter in the vein of Half-Life, and it's currently in development by Bleak Mill Games. Now what's interesting about their game is that it uses very basic geometry at its core, literally just planes, and also materials with just diffuse normal and roughness, with the purpose of reducing rendering resources massively in the use of shaders that apply textures and lighting to the geometry in an efficient and convincing manner, making these very simple objects on screen appear extremely complex and detailed without needing to put a ton of stress on the GPU and CPU math engines. This is a great example of how far behind most development studios are from taking full advantage of the hardware and technology that we currently have by doing things more efficiently rather than just relying on ever-increasing transistor counts. Now, if you don't know what Runaway ML is, it's an AI video generation tool that runs on their Gen 3 Alpha model and creates some of the best AI video out there. So a creator here on YouTube called Kai the AI Guy, great name by the way, took gameplay from GTA 4 and regenerated it with Runaway ML. While this is obviously an offline render, the idea is that in the future, this sort of image regeneration will happen in real time as you play the game. So even if the base game looks like, say, Minecraft, we will be able to use AI in real time to regenerate each frame so that it looks like something completely different, be it photorealistic like in this example, or some other art style of our choosing. This example with GTA 4 is obviously very crude still, it's still early days, but I think it illustrates well how in the future the onus of graphics rendering won't be on 3D rendering capabilities, but rather on inference capabilities, assuming we get advanced models specifically tailored for video games' traditional styles. I think that for this to be a reality at latencies that make the video game playable, we're at least a good 10 years away. By the way, if it's already disturbing to watch a realistic Nico smack someone in the head with a baseball bat, imagine the can of worms that will be open when we have hyper-realistic versions of some of the goriest games out there. I could see another Carmageddon moment happening in politics, for those of you who are old enough to remember that. Now, jumping outside the traditional PC medium and into augmented reality for a bit, I covered Simulon in the past and the tech is finally close to launching, with a release version being available to everyone this November. A remarkable new feature is the ability to shift lens focus between subjects, both real and 3D assets, in real time. In this example, a human enters the frame and the lens focus shifts to her when in close proximity, giving the rest of the scene a bokeh effect, including the the injected 3D asset. By the way, if I were Simulon, I'd be careful about having a Stegosaurus in a public space in their demos, because trigger-happy Nintendo might sue them for trying to copy Pokemon Go. Definitely don't make these dinosaurs yellow, or you'll be in big trouble. Anyway, in this other example, we see the seamless blending of CG and real-world elements with this toy soldier animated 3D model integrating convincingly into the real environment. Beyond just AR video games, I could see this technology having some really interesting applications in board games. Oh, and in Dungeons & Dragons, now that I think about it. Now, I want to introduce a new segment in this series of graphics tech videos where I'll do an artist highlight. I've done something similar in the past, but I want to try and make this a more frequent feature here on the channel. Sergi Marin, a lighting artist at Crytek who has worked in the Hunt Showdown and Climb 2 games, shared some beautiful Unreal Engine 5 scenes on his ArtStation page that I think are worth covering, as they perfectly showcase the use of RealityScan together with Lumen. If you don't know what it is, RealityScan lets you use your phone to do photogrammetry of things like this abandoned house. You can scan elements separately and then reconstruct them inside Unreal Engine later. You can also connect a DSLR camera to your phone and capture the surfaces in higher resolution, which is what Sergi has done here. Then from there, you can see nanite being used here to blend the tiled resulting textures into the basic shapes used to create the house structure. It looks incredible and a lot more realistic than what an artist could model from scratch in a 3D software. You can check out some of Sergi's other work like this desert scene with awesome lighting gradients and some other great scenes tastefully captured by following the link in the description of this video. And fresh out of the oven is the announcement that Halo, Microsoft's gaming poster child series, is moving to Unreal Engine 5. Here's an interesting quote from someone in the newly created Halo Studios.
Before, we really had to split our focus in thinking about building an engine, supporting it, being really kind of a tech company and a studio at the same time.
I think this quote sums up well the ROI challenge of developing an in-house engine versus using something like Unreal Engine 5, which will almost always be better than an in-house engine because that's its sole focus. The exception is Rockstar Studios, of course, who have the resources to excel in both creating the games and the engine. The early footage looks fantastic, maintaining the saturated look that the previous Halo games had, but with the added scale and detail that UE5 can provide, which I think will be particularly useful in the Pacific Northwest type scenery that Halo has become known for, where scale is important to sell the vision of the game world. In this biome, where the world is infected with some blight gunk, which makes the environment look like a toxic combination of Reddit and Twitter, you can see the fantastic global illumination in action and the subsurface scattering effect in these tendon-looking things. Remember, this is all rendered in real time. Again, I think it makes a lot of sense for this move to happen, and I think more AAA studios will follow suit in moving to UE5. Going with UE5 frees up resources to focus solely on the game and letting Epic deal with keeping its engine ahead of the curve. So even this early, the environments look stunning, well above what any previous Halo game has looked. It will also be interesting to see how UE5 will help speed up the development process of a AAA game. I will revisit this one in the future for sure. And lastly, I wanted to quickly mention another RealityScan based project which features a model of the Mars planet. What's interesting here is that these are actual captures done in Mars by the Mars rover robot, well, by its cameras. How crazy is it that we can use photos that a robot is taking on another planet and recreate a portion of it in a 3D scene to accurately replicate a place that humans have never been to, except for Matt Damon and his space potatoes. We already know that Nvidia is creating a digital twin of planet Earth, which is both scary and exciting, especially for its applications in games. But in the coming decades, with more robots being sent to other planets and moons, as a byproduct of science projects, of course, game developers will have the ability to accurately create alien environments based on ground truth. This will also affect movies and series, of course, and along with virtual sets, the production costs of such projects will likely be significantly reduced. So that's it for this one. Be sure to subscribe and share this video with others, as that really helps my channel grow. A special thank you to my awesome patrons for their continued support. Join my Patreon today and get exclusive access to the Cortex Discord server. Thanks for watching, and until the next one.